Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with a guitar, and they call me on the phone. They ask me, they say, "Hey, man, what's your show about anyway?" I say, "Well, it's about an hour. Guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So if you want to call me on the phone and ask me a question about how to play your guitar, or what kind of guitar is right for you, the care and feeding of your guitar, any kind of guitaristic thing." Want to talk about a related topic like the sitar, the guitarrón, the guitarra, lutes, vihuelas, banjos, balalaikas, bazookies, bajos, sextos, tiples, cavaquinhos, ukuleles, banjolales, banjolins, bandoras, mandolas, mandolins, B flat A and C clarinets, flutes, piccolos, pipe organs, ocarinas, accordions. I don't know. I mean, citerns, harmoniums or harpsichords or harmonicas, timbales, timpanis, trombones, trombomarinas, cornets, cornetos, crumhorns or quartholts.
Everything from accordions to zithers.
That's right. Everything
including kazoos.
Kazoos, even, yes. We'll talk about kazoos if you want. I'm cool, man. I mean, I'm cool. I used to have. I don't think I have one anymore. Anyway,
Well, I don't have a store-bought one anymore, but I still have a comb.
yeah. I have less and less need for a comb as I age. But anyway, anything, politics, world events, your own personality problems, that's fine. We're here for you, but it's a family program, so keep it clean, please. All right. Well, once again, I had a grandiose plan. I have 5 pedals strewn across my music room floor at home, and I have this really great, crisp, clear, resonant, zinging sound with this Stratocaster through a very simple amp, and all these 5 pedals. But the thing is, there's a high-pitched squeal that happens in there somewhere along the chain, and I don't know why, and highly annoying. So I was going to try to fix that this afternoon, and I always make an excuse for why my show is so poorly thought out, So I was going to do this whole thing, but then we're doing some errands and stuff, and I got home, it was a little bit before 5, and had to go. So I figured I'd use this, because this is a really nice little tube amp. It's a Fender Super Champ XD, an all-tube amp made by Fender. And this here is a Fender Stratocaster. And, that's a guitar that won the West. All blue and pretty, and I had the custom, I got this back in 1995 or 96, I can't remember. And then I had these pickups, it was just all white, and these pickups really noisy, so I had noiseless pickups, and then a black pickguard put onto it. So it's like, it's customized slightly in that all this stuff that used to be white, it was a little bit too cheerful for me, is now black and shiny. So anyway, it's all Fender stuff. So I say this is what I would call a real Fender. I guess if your Fender's made in Mexico or China or Indonesia, it's still probably. I mean, I guess it's still really a Fender because it says Fender on the decal. But this is actually made in Corona, California, so it's really a Fender. So I have this in my little Ditto. A little looper, so I make a loop for myself.
I see our new young camera operator had a nice shot there showing that we're talking into genuine PATV microphones tonight.
Yeah, yeah. It's or these microphones with genuine PATV. What do you call these things anyway? These must be new. That's what we're having. We had these before, but they were really funky. They're made out of paper and cardboard. At one point, they were hand lettered. But we're trying to improve our.
This
image
looks
on it.
like the real deal. We look like pros.
Yeah, and you even got an SM58 mic with a great big dent in the windscreen, like it's often, which is typical. But
That gives it that nice tone.
yeah, yeah, it makes it look like it's actually used. It's one of those things. Like I have this one method book that I want my classical guitar students to get. It's the old Aaron Shearer book, and I don't like the new edition that came out a few years ago, but the older ones. There are a lot of them around because a lot of people bought them, so you can buy them on eBay for like $4. Method book, and they get it in. The pages are all yellow and brittle, but it's never been opened. You can tell it's like hasn't had its spine, stretched yet. It's just, and I think it's one of those things. People buy stuff, like they buy a beautiful guitar, and it's really dusty. But you look at it, there's no wear on the fingerboard, like that hasn't been fingered.
Right.
Because if you drag a metal string across a piece of wood, even though it's nice dense, like this case is rock maple, probably from Canada. But after a while, it's dragging that, when you're bending a note. I'm scratching a piece of metal across a piece of wood, and so you get a little fret wear, a little wood, See, nothing on it. Like things are dusty, but never been played.
Like a lot of things, they look good in the store and they go home and get used for a coat rack.
Yeah. Well, you go buy yourself a guitar because you want to be a rock star.
Yeah.
You get home and get your book, How to Play Guitar Playing for Dummies. You sit down, you can't do it. You feel really dumb, so you don't want to deal with it. See? So you have to bust your way through it.
Have to practice.
Yeah, you have to practice, and you have to fight your little battle.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, practice, practice. Yeah, there's a whole genre of people getting in a cab, but jokes,
Yeah.
It's like a guy walks into a bar, jokes,
Yeah.
Two guys walk in the bar, third guy, he ducked. Anyway,
Two Irishmen walk past a bar. That can happen.
yeah. I was just thinking of a joke about two Irishmen walking down the street, but I'm not going to tell it on this show. There's no way. I mean, it's a family program. Just realizing the number of really rank jokes I've heard that stick in my mind. Because I memorize things, that's part of what I do. So it's like some things stick in your mind easier than others. And really foul jokes can
Two Irishmen walking past a cemetery. One of them says, "Look, that guy lived to be 170 years old. Who's that?" "Miles from Dublin."
Yes, I see. Wow, so that's okay. That's pretty good, yeah. So, there's a joke. Let me think. I did tell this didn't tell this joke last week, was it? Let me see if I remember it. Oh yeah, an engineer dies and goes to hell, and he's down there in hell. He looks around. It's really very hot and uncomfortable. So he goes. He fixes the air conditioning. You see, and it cools down very quickly. And then the transportation system is completely, useless, and so he fixes that. And the communication system is, broken and only has like a few really terrible channels, so he gets the full range of television and everything like that. Basically goes fixes everything. And it becomes quite pleasant down there, and everybody's pretty happy.
Yeah.
And so God looks down and to see what things are going on in hell, and actually it's really nice. And so he talks to Satan about this. Say, well, we're supposed to be miserable down there, so oh yeah, we got an engineer down here. He's fixed everything for us. I said, engineer? That's impossible. There must be some mistake. Engineer going to hell? Send him up here. I said, no, we like him down here. And then God says, I'll sue you for this. Satan says, yeah, good luck finding a lawyer. So that's a terrible joke, isn't it? My other joke of the week that I kind of like, I don't think I told this one here before, but so there's this guy, he's stranded on a desert island. This is a religious joke. I want to tell it in this church that I play guitar at, but I haven't found the right moment. But so this guy's been shipwrecked, and he washes up on an island, and he survives many years. Finally he's rescued. His rescuers come ashore to get him, and he And he shows them around before they leave. Say, well, over here there's a coconut grove, and where I get my coconuts, and I fish in the lagoon over here. Here's my hut. They say, what's that building over there? I say, oh, that's this little hut with a kind of a steeple on it. That's where I worship. And there's another one, similar looking building in the distance, but it's kind of falling apart. He says, what's that? He says, that's where I used to go to church. So anyway, I like that.
So tell us, will you be appearing in person this week?
Oh yeah, I'll be around. The very, very ordinary week for me. I'll be at the Tuscan Moon, Italian steakhouse on 5th Street, or right downtown Kelowna, right next to the bakery. So if you go to Kelowna, like on Highway 22, you'll very easy to find. Go down Highway 218, which is a 4-lane highway, 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, I guess, and turn off on Highway 22, go through Riverside, where I'll be in a couple weeks, by the way, for Trek Fest, which is another story.
Tom and the Tribbles?
Tom and the Tribbles. Yeah, we got our T-shirts. So I want to run mine through the wash before the show. But anyway, because we have the band and we have our own T-shirt. Anyway, and then so you go through Riverside, then another 7 miles is Kelowna, and then you take the business district turn off, which is 5th Avenue, or it's 5th Avenue, not 5th Street. And right there, the rather lovely-looking red brick building with the vines growing on the portico is Tuscan Moon. So I'll be there Friday and Saturday night, supposed to start 6. I'll start about 6:30 probably, maybe 6:40 maybe at the latest. And then, of course, Sunday, I'll be at Journey Church there in Coralville, almost to North Liberty, off of Oakdale Boulevard. Not hard to find, very open. I'm not religious myself, but I provide music for them, and so that starts about 10:30. Although it always starts late, because they have like a book study thing beforehand, and so I'm supposed to show up at 10 to play guitar for people as they're arriving. So I always show up about 10:14, and I'm plenty early. So anyway, so that's Sunday. So I said be there 10:30, and it's an interesting. It's what they call an emergent church. It's a Church of Christ, which is I think is pretty liberal, and they kind of make it up as they go along. So there are people there who are interested in Buddhism and in Hindu mythology and stuff like that, who also go there, and they're very open, not unlike Unitarians in many ways. There are a number of gay couples who attend there, of both genders, or is that right? I can't figure out the language anymore. But anyway, there are same-sex couples who attend there, and they're welcome and everything. So it's kind of like you've got people. I don't think you have anybody who's like a real conservative as such there, or judgmental. But there are people of different types. So young people with tattoos and old people. And a lot of things in between. So I'm
with old tattoos.
Old tattoos, yeah. That's right. So, guy was telling me about his daughter has tattoos all over her back, and then across, her chest up here, and just thinking how that's going to look. And I mean, she's like early 20s. I mean, I don't know. I understand that we all age, and I'm probably not as cute as I was when I began this show 20 years ago. I don't think I was all that cute then, but I've deteriorated slightly, I think. And so I don't know how his daughter's going to look in 20 years, but it's none of my business, I guess. So anyway, so
Well, let's mention that we do have a young person in the studio tonight.
Yeah, we have a new camera operator. What's your name?
Callie.
Callie? Okay, we have Callie over there. There in the distance. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So we have new people all the time. And actually, it's one of these things. I can't possibly, I've lost count of how many volunteers and interns we've had that have come through this show. But the thing about this show is it's very boring and predictable, so that you can stand behind a camera and occasionally I'll have to move it. And and if you hang around, are you a volunteer or intern?
I'm an intern.
Intern, okay. Mm-hmm. So then, if you want to, maybe later on you would direct the show, and then you'll have all your experience.
And if you're out there watching and you'd like to make your own show, come on down. They'll teach you.
That's right. Yeah, take workshops. Doesn't cost anything. It used to cost something, but I guess it doesn't cost anything anymore to take the workshops and stuff and become a member. It's a public service to enhance media literacy. If you make television shows, you have a very different attitude about television. And television has a very powerful hold over people. And I remember when I became a producer, and it was, I don't know, it was more than 25 years ago. It was before it was PATV, when it was Heritage Cablevision. So it was in the 80s, 26 years ago. When I was young and handsome, no, I wasn't very handsome. I'm sorry.
When you were young and the world was new.
That's right. But anyway, so I used to watch TV a lot, I guess. There in my trailer. I used to live in a mobile home. I want to get that T-shirt that says "Recovering Trailer Trash." But anyway, I would watch TV, and the things you kind of like, you believe what you see on TV. But then you start making TV, and I used to volunteer for all kinds of stuff. And then one show that I was working on, I was actually doing the switching for, because I actually did a lot of TV. I made a lot of editing and a lot of switching and stuff, the directing, because I just have my name on the volunteer board, and I put in a lot of hours doing it. And like there was one show that was done several times. It was like a panel, it's like 3 guys. And they were young Earth creationists. They didn't believe in evolution, or the Earth was more than like 5,000 or 6,000 years old. They believed in Noah's flood and Noah's Ark and all that stuff. Literally, they were literalists. And I remember I was doing this, and there was a guy who had a bright orange mohawk hairdo, and he had safety pins through his ears, piercings and stuff like that, through his lip and stuff like that. He had the really funky jeans and a jeans jacket with the sleeves ripped out and stuff, spray painted on it and stuff like that. And he looked, he's pretty punk. And of course, this was like, this is more than 20 years ago. So before this show started. So it was like 22 years ago or something. And so the punk thing was still, anyway. So we did a good job. I mean, I didn't do anything I was doing the switching, and I was, had the headset on, and I was, okay, camera 2, focus up, camera 2, could you pan? And then we did a good job of making them look good, but they said something particularly. See, the one theory they had, and I don't want to mess up anybody's religious views, but that the reason there are so many sedimentary layers of rock is because for 40 days and 40, let's go by a year, I think, for the water to recede. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights in the story, and the water took like a whole year to recede to the point where they could. So the reason was it was such a storm that the water sloshed around the earth, and every time it went around, it left another layer of sediment. You see, which is any 8th grade science teacher, and probably most 8th grade science students, could easily debunk that hypothesis. It's not a theory because it's not supported by evidence. It could be a hypothesis, and then you have to, support it. But of course, they didn't know what a theory was, which is the theory of evolution is only a theory. So, theory in science is an explanation based on a body of knowledge that has been peer-reviewed and picked apart by other scholars. So anyway, they were talking about this earth, the water sloshing around and leaving these sedimentary layers. So I looked out through the glass, In those days, the window was on the side, and see now I can. So I look over my shoulder, I look over there, out there, and the guy, with the mohawk and the safety pins, he's looking over at me like, But we did it. We did it. We did a credible show for them, and we didn't. I never interjected any of my opinions. I was polite and
Not our job.
That's right. It wasn't my job. I just did. I'm doing what you're doing. If you disagree with what I do and what I say, you just keep it to yourself.
And if you want to have a church show on this channel, there are a bunch of them.
That's right. And there are all kinds of different church shows too. There are a lot of those. In fact, it's a thing. Some people like more church than other things. But
whatever kind of a TV show you'd like to make, come on down.
That's right.
We're down here at the corner of South Dubuque and Lafayette. You can take lessons on how to run the equipment, get the rules on making a show, and do it yourself.
That's right.
And show us what we're doing wrong.
Well, one of my reasons for starting this show is because I wasn't that happy with what I saw on MTV when it started out. And I wanted to present a different point of view. And,
whatever you thought of music videos, now they run 16 and pregnant.
Yeah. I haven't watched MTV in a really long time now. I used to watch music videos, and some of them were pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I wanted like beautiful art, and there was Channel One for a while on cable a long time ago when cable was just starting to really spread. It was a CBS cable station.
That was a sponsored news thing, wasn't it?
No, it was art things. I think that's all.
There was. I thought they called it Channel One. There was a channel somebody was sponsoring feeding to the schools.
Oh yeah, that was and that was sponsored by people, and then people didn't like that because they were trying to get kids to buy sugar and things, and it was advertisers. This was long before that, probably early '80s, late '70s, somewhere around there. There was a cable station called Channel One, and didn't last maybe more than a year, and it was it's like short films and music videos that were artistic, and concerts, like a whole concert from Carnegie Hall or something like that, things like that, and. I thought that was cool. But see, what I like and what I think is cool isn't necessarily, that cool to anybody else. Esoteric is the word I think. I'm just not cool.
But people can hear you play easy listening music Friday and Saturday night at the Tuscan Moon in Kelowna.
It's easy listening. Is that worse than saying smooth jazz, or is it just as bad? Which one's worse? I guess it depends on who you are. But
you're not going to disturb people's digestion.
Yeah. Well, I listen to KCCK in the car now, and it's a jazz station out of Kirkwood College, and they have a Gentle Jazz show that comes on that when I'm on the way somewhere, and I'm not sure if I like the idea of gentle jazz. I imagine people get some jazz is really jarring and painful to listen to, and this stuff is just always really nice. It's like either like smooth jazz or soul music or soul based stuff. So, and I say, that sounds nice.
Us old guys remember when gentle jazz was about all there was on FM radio.
Yeah, well that was Muzak pretty much, but
well that's how Muzak got started. Some businesses started playing FM radios in their stores, and the copyright owners said, "Well, we want some money."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Muzak got started.
Well, the thing with the Muzak or whatever, I don't know how you pronounce it, but
I don't either. I'm guessing, but
I always heard Muzak, but anyway. But I've heard it in the past. I haven't heard it for a long time, but I would hear that incredibly great musicians. Just. Like I listen for guitar parts and bass parts, because I play the guitar and the bass, and I'm always listening for those parts, and because I did that one joke, how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? 101. One to screw it in, and 100 more to stand around saying, I can do that. So I listen to these guitar parts and say, can I do that? Yeah, I can do that. And of course bass and stuff, and I hear these must be just really, really wonderful studio musicians, probably just churning this stuff out. They probably just punch a time clock and with a big mug of coffee, and they sit down in the studio and they do their part. But I mean, and sometimes the arrangements are nice, but you can see somebody has said, well, we'll start with this nice one here, then we're going to spread like some sort of soft mayonnaise all over it, musically speaking, so smooth out all the roughness and lubricate it, and so it sounds good in an elevator when people are nervous.
Back in tube days,
oh boy,
an FM radio was more complex and more expensive than an AM radio. Mm-hmm. Once they got to making solid-state integrated circuits, the whole thing goes on a chip, and once you get production running, it's not that big a deal. So FM's no more expensive now than AM, so they put them in all the cars.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I had AM radios in cars a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, we all did. In tube days, most of them were just AM.
Yeah, well, if you had a radio, it was AM.
Do you remember the fire bottles?
See, this is what you get for being on an old man show, a history lesson. Yeah. Well, I remember when I was young.
When you're the youth movement, you got to hear, well, when I was your age.
That's right. It's tubes. It's tubes. You don't load it on a truck, it's tubes. Well, he's dead now, isn't he? Yeah. Never mind. That's net neutrality. That's a lot more recent history. Anyway,
Oh yeah, have you heard the latest on that?
I think so. Yeah.
The head lobbyist for the telecommunications industry is now the head of the FCC,
Uh huh.
and the telecommunications industry wants to get rid of net neutrality.
Right. Funny.
So they are taking comments now,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't bring the address with me. You can probably Google it up. It's like FCC/comments or something like that.
Maybe you should get it for us.
Yes. While you're playing your next song, I'll
Maybe
Go
we
look it
can.
up.
Maybe I'll play a long one. Maybe you can get it. I don't know if you can get it to Mr. Skopinski to put on the screen or whatever, if that's possible. Or maybe I can just read it, or you can read it.
or so I've had some dealings with the FCC in the past, and they really don't care what we think. I don't believe, but they are taking comments, so we might as well make them.
Well, I don't know. As long as you can make your comments, it probably won't hurt unless you
Yeah.
suddenly find some people like in black suits hanging on your door or something. I guess they wouldn't have NSA shirts on or anything like that.
Well, the last time I tried, I also wrote our representative and our senators, and all that got me was lots of spam, both real on the phone and over the internet. Send us a contribution. They all ignored my request, but they all requested money from me.
If you sent them $1 million or so, they probably would have.
Yeah.
At least they would have. Might have looked at your request. They might have considered it. But yeah, well,
They all sent me a nice form letter and then followed that up with donation requests.
that's right. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'll play some music and I'll go look this thing up.
All right, I think there's something I can do here. Here we go. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see fcc.gov/comments. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, and you'll find instructions there for commenting, and they also have a list of the actions that are before them right now. And what net neutrality is that Verizon and Comcast and the telecommunications people would like to put in a slow lane
Yeah.
and then charge a premium price for the fast service and put everybody else in the slow lane. And they can't do that now because of net neutrality. Everybody's data has to be handled at the same speed,
A level playing field.
a level playing field.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be shoved into the slow lane, there's the address to send your comments to.
That's right. So things like websites like allthingsguitartom.com, for instance, would take you a while to get on there probably. And, well, I mean, there's this sort of thing.
Or the BWTV 147 channel on YouTube.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Vital information there.
That's right. But it is YouTube. Well, maybe YouTube would be slow, give you the slow lane too. I know it's harder. YouTube changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like these shows, like this show, maybe you would be lucky to get 30 views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I used to get like a couple 100,000 views back, in the.
Well, a while back, YouTube was what there was.
Yeah.
Now there are lots of places where people can put things up.
YouTube was, there's a lot more stuff on YouTube, of course. But the other thing is that the more commercial things are things that are easier to find.
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah, I know. Every time, if I just punch in mine, there's something else they always try to send me to, and they say, "Do you really want this?" And I have to tell them, "No, I want that."
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's some YouTube channels I like to go to, and they're not like very big, and they're kind of hard to get to. I mean, you can type the thing in, but if it's a big time one, you just type a few letters and boom, there it is. But the small time ones are hard to find. Even if you type it in correctly, you might not get it. So.
Up at SCTV, we tag our things ICSCTV. Well, there's some shopping center association that also uses ICSCTV as their tag.
Yeah. Well, there's a.
Sorry.
It's always siesta time. I should probably try to get the show either earlier or later. But anyway, the thing is, if it's commercial, it's easier to find on YouTube. They get kind of buried in the shuffle now. Yeah. It's different. It's more commercial. And then, of course, there are other things. There's Vimeo and some other places you can go. But I don't know. YouTube is the king. But I think of the whole net were that way. I don't know. Yeah. The thing is, I think that people who want to make a lot of money. I was just reading an article about how much these little like Cayman Islands, for instance, the per capita amount of money they generate. It's like $860,000 or something per person, and it has a I don't know
the banking industry.
The banking industry is there, and the people actually live there.
Yeah.
They're waiters and people that live there, but that's because so much money goes through there, and if you look at the reason why, it's because a lot of like big corporations, big American companies, just stash a lot of money there.
Have a post office box in the Cayman Islands that they call their world headquarters.
Right. So they save a whole bunch of money on taxes and so forth. So I know people who are just so up in arms about the poor people mooching, and if they have any idea what the percentage of that, as far as the amount of money that's circulating around, what the percentage that we would do for give for like food stamps, for instance,
Yeah.
or just education and so forth. I mean, that so much more money goes to so much more stuff and weapons systems that the military doesn't even want.
Yeah.
So they can build them so somebody can make. So somebody makes a whole lot of money, and I'm far from being a socialist. I just think it should be fair.
I've seen the pictures of those thousands of M1 tanks sitting in storage out in the California desert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are you going to need a tank for? Maybe a few, but how many are you going to need? I mean, if Canada declares war on us, we have a big tank battles like they did in World War II. But I don't think it's going to happen because obviously cruise missiles and drones would probably be a much more efficient way to fight that war. When people try to do a big tank charge, you say, okay, well, you push a few buttons, kaboom, boom from the sky. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just this thing. I talk to people who don't seem to grasp. They have this idea that so much money goes to people who are like freeloaders, who are poor. I mean, there are, huge corporations that don't pay their fair share. So they keep trying to restrict it for us, the rest of us. And so I think I've got kind of a working class attitude.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my thing. But but the thing about like the way I've read a whole lot. I've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of books on tape and stuff. And I really don't go to the library very much anymore because I have the internet. And I spend a lot of time on the internet reading articles and essays and things like that and watching videos and things. And I don't really pay for very much. And I never have because I used to go to the library all the time. And when I was a kid, I'd go to the music library and look through manuscripts and things like that, and journals. And I learned a lot about, go there, sit there for about 3 hours looking at back issues of Classical Guitar Quarterly, going back years and years, and with my little spiral notebook and my pencil and my little pencil sharpener, and I would make notes and things and learn things, and I didn't pay any money for this at all. But it was, if I had to pay for it, I don't think I would have done as much. So somehow that's very kind of democratic. That was what the whole Carnegie libraries were all about, and that's a theme that sort of goes through American culture. Is that you make a lot of information like universal literacy. So all the kids learn how to read in school. This goes back well into the 19th century. That all the kids learn how to read in school for free. Paid for by taxes, of course, and but it's universal education. Universal literacy was the point. So I think this internet's like another extension of that, and I'm not really interested in commercial stuff, the kind of things that people want to entertain me with. I'm very interested in blogs, and links to articles and magazines and things that I don't have to pay for, because if I have to pay for it, I don't usually go there. It has to be something I really want. And there's a lot of music that I've been downloading. My photocopier broke. So I've photocopied, and I have like huge books full of music. I have like fake books, and popular music and jazz and stuff. And then I have lots of classical guitar music. But I found a lot of stuff. There's like the Classical Guitar School of Iceland. This Thorsen guy who's done very clean copies of a lot of editions of a lot of 19th century, 18th century guitar music. So I've been collecting that. It's free and open to the public. You can download it. You can send him some money if you want. But so I'm amassing a huge library of guitar music. So that my idea is to have my sheet music on a little thumb drive. That I could take with me to up to Coe College when I teach up there and stuff like that. But I don't pay for any of that stuff. And the thing is, like I just downloaded a bunch of Carulli music. Carulli, I think he died in the 1820s or something, 1830s. He was born in 17-something. Yeah. And so he did most of his work in the first 2 decades of the 19th century. So I can buy a book of Carulli music, but there's a library in Sweden or someplace that has scanned all of his opuses. So I can,
and they're all out of copyright.
They're all out of copyright, and the old man's been dead for a really long time, like almost 200 years. Yeah. So do I need to send the money to a publisher? And myself, I compose music, but I haven't copyrighted anything or done ASCAP BMI because I had to pay them a fee. And, anybody who wants to play my stuff would theoretically have to put money into a vault somewhere, but I wouldn't make any money. It would all go to big publishing houses. And so, I guess I'm glad they're there, but I don't really feel, I don't want to really be a pirate or anything like that and steal anything. But if it's somebody who's been dead for 200 years, or if it's, something that's basically in the public domain, or something that's readily available, I don't want to, give money. I mean, I
don't want to make some publisher rich.
That's right. I know they're having their trouble getting by too, but they've been kind of sleazy. I have a lot of books that I've purchased over the years. I mean, I have books that I bought when I was in high school. But anyway, so that's my thing. I like the idea of free knowledge and education, free exchange of knowledge and education, just for its own sake. And I don't think that people like us are going to get anything out of this, lack of net neutrality. People.
No, it's not for us.
It's not for us.
It's for Verizon and Comcast,
right?
AT&T,
right. And it's for the people, the shareholders, and the people at the top of those companies too.
Yeah.
So, I say, keep it free. I mean, obviously they don't care what we think because we don't give them a whole bunch of money. But, and I guess I don't hate rich people or anything like that. I don't feel that way, but I just think that they have had, if you look at the wealth disparity, just the reality, the truth of it, the hard numbers, the rich have been getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the middle class is becoming poor. And, and things were good for everybody when it was a little bit more even. Rich was still getting really filthy rich, but they weren't getting so very rich necessarily, and there was a lot more around. Other ordinary people could have but better lives, and so poor people can get jobs, and not have to live in the street, and middle class people can have less worry, send their kids to school, so forth. So it's sort of a populist kind of idea. I don't think communism is not going to work. Socialism, at a certain level, some people are afraid of socialism, but like public roads, where you can drive down the road without having checkpoints and tolls and stuff, and militias, that's socialism. But a certain level of socialism, capitalism, absolutely, but not unrestrained, because on the one hand you got communism, you got Stalin and Mao. On the other side you got fascism, that's far right. You've got Pinochet or Hitler, Mussolini, and either way, you get to a certain point, people in gray coats are going to show up at 2:00 in the morning, drag you out of bed, and you'll never be seen by your family again. So that's the extremes, both sides. Right or left. Right, you got the Nazis, and the left, you got the Soviets. I don't want either one of them. I want to be somewhere in the middle, where you can get rich if you try really hard. Now the best way to get rich is to be born that way. And then
earn your money the old-fashioned way, inherit it.
Inherit it, yeah. And they talk about really rich people, and they say, well, it's all men and the CEOs and so forth. But say, well, there are a lot of really rich women.
Yeah, the widows of
the widows of
that were the second wives of the rich guys.
Second wife of the rich guy, and she's worth a bunch of money, and so, and he was a ruthless businessman for many years, and then, and also 40 years older than her, and when the old man died, she inherited billions.
Yeah, I suppose they're dead now, but I remember when two of the richest people in the U.S. were the widows of the Dodge brothers.
Well, that's the reality of it. There's a lot of talk about the glass ceiling for women, but it's just that there aren't that many. There are not as many women CEOs, and mostly because of the choices they make in their lives. But
there are a lot of women who are the widows of CEOs.
That's right. A lot of widows of CEOs, captains of industry. So. Speaking of chord theory, though, so I've been thinking about. I actually keep thinking about what do you do to a chord? So here's your C chord. By the way, I'm teaching a beginning guitar class at West Music, of all places.
If
Wednesday
if you're
nights.
interested in net neutrality, our crew is leaving that address up. Write and tell the FCC what you think.
Send them an email.
Well, there's a procedure on the page. They tell you how to make a comment.
Okay. See if it gets there in the slow lane or not. But
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm teaching this class for beginners, and second chord I show them is a C chord. So here's a C chord. Here's a C7. If I put a D in it, that'll make it a C9. I have two E's. I must put a G in it. I've lost my G because I made it into a B flat, so I'll put the G on top. So that's a C9. So here's a C, C7, C9, right? And that's how about a C9 flat 5. That's spooky chord. Okay, how about a C7 flat 9? Huh? How about flat 9 flat 5? Huh? C7 sharp 9, just call it C sharp 9. How about a C7 flat 9 augmented 5th? Isn't that cool? C6 at 9. No, C6 flat 9. Flat
And
9,
as
flat
we've
5.
mentioned before, for bass players, there is no third lesson because after he learns 2 chords, he has a gig. And
That's right. Well, that's the thing. The little boy says he wants to play bass guitar, so his father gets him a bass and signs him up for lessons. So, say, what'd you do this week, son? Your lesson. I learned the notes on the 4th string. Next week comes back. What'd you learn this week? I learned the notes on the 3rd string. Huh? Comes back next week. What'd you learn this week? So, I quit. I've already got a job in a band. Yeah. This is actually my stories. I teach bass guitar. A long time ago, I had a student, nice guy, nice kid, but he wanted to learn something on the bass. So I showed him something I just heard on a Stevie Wonder song on the radio. And same thing over with. Anyway, I showed him that one. I'll see you next week, I said. Didn't show up. Didn't show up after that. I crossed him off my list. And I ran into him walking down the street like several years later. And I said, "Did you ever, like playing bass anymore?" "Oh," he said, yeah, I got in a band. You know? I showed him that. But that's right. He came back. That's why I ran into him. And he says he was in a band. And then he came back for lessons and said, "Teach me something else," because he did that one thing. He made a career of it. So anyway. Here we go. Here's a C major 7. Here's a C minor 7 flat 5, also known as a half diminished, because I took a major 7 and I flatted everything but the root. So the 3rd, the 5th, and the major 7 are all flatted. That's a nice chord. Night and day, thinking of you. Sorry, I heard that before somewhere. It's not an original idea. It's kind of hard to come up with one. Anyway, so net neutrality. Why don't you go there, if anybody's watching, make comments. I think we ought to have an open, free, level playing field for all of us to participate in the marketplace of knowledge.
no slow lanes.
No slow lanes. Because I know I can't, I have my modest web presence. I know I can't afford to give any
Yeah.
kickbacks.
To make Comcast any richer.
Comcast, and whoever else I have
Yeah.
to give it to, because it wouldn't be just them. Yeah. They want to ruin it, but people want to. The very rich people, they just want to have more.
Yeah.
That's the way how they got there in the first place. They want to, they want to have the highest margin.
Or Grandpa got there.
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway, so I'll be back next week. Check me out at the Tuscan Moon this weekend.
And Tom and the Tribbles will be at Trek Fest.
That's right. Maybe I can get a couple of Tribbles on the show before that happens, so we promote it. We can wear our new T-shirts. They say Trek Fest on the front, and they say Tom and the Tribbles on the back. They're red, though. If it's Star Trek, those are the ones that all get killed, right? The guys in the red shirts get killed.
It's anybody you don't know.
It's all those guys in red
When
shirts,
the
though.
away crew goes down to the planet, if there's anybody you don't recognize, he don't come back.
Yeah. Especially black people for some reason. You ever notice that?